Ms. Campion, you've been brought before the review board today to discuss the possibility of your early release. Is that understood?
Mm-hmm. And you can just call me Prairie.
You state your crime was committed in self-defense. How do you see it as such?
I was dying. Did what I had to do to survive.
Well, can you elaborate on that for us?
Well, leukemia is a blood cancer that begins in the bone marrow where the blood cells are produced.
Please stick to the specifics of your story, Ms.
Oh,
Campion.
right, sorry. I was diagnosed in 2009 with leukemia, the year after my mom passed.
Where were you living at the time?
I was staying with my dad. I'd moved back in with my folks, helping take care of my mom. I was working part-time, didn't have health insurance, and the bills were adding up. My dad was pretty well wiped out by all the extra care my mom required in her funeral, so he wasn't really in any position to help. The only thing that scared me worse than having cancer was being in debt the rest of my life. I've seen what it can do to people. Besides, the chemo and radiation didn't really help my mom, just made her sicker.
Were you aware of any alternatives?
I started doing some research, mostly online, Googling and going to forums about alternative therapies. That's where I found out about the clinical trials they were doing on inmates, stem cell replacement. I figured, why not? I got nothing to lose. So I meditated on it for a few weeks and tried to figure out how I'd get into the system. It became like a game, you know, for me, like a puzzle I had to solve. I had never done anything worse than steal a can of beer from a 7-Eleven in high school. And then this light came on. I realized if I was going to serve time anyway, why not do some good with my crime? You know, play a little Robin Hood.
And how did you determine which crime to commit and against whom?
I kept digging. I narrowed the likely cause of my cancer down to ionizing radiation, or benzene, which is an aromatic hydrocarbon. The thing with benzene is that most Americans are exposed to it through automotive exhaust and cigarette smoke, neither of which I actively contribute to, but I've spent a lifetime inhaling. Problem with benzene is that you can't really pinpoint a guilty party, so I focused on ionizing radiation.
And where does that come from?
I suspect the nuclear power plant where I grew up. Prairie Island. It opened the year I was born. That's how I got the nickname, Prairie. My mom's mom was Prairie Island Sioux. You heard of them? They own the Treasure Island Casino. Not that I ever saw any of that money.
You were telling us about the nuclear power plant and the waste?
Well, they were supposed to be shipping the waste to Yucca Mountain in Nevada. It was a nuclear testing facility, so it was already contaminated and 100 miles from anywhere. But that never materialized, so now there are power plants all around the country that are doing their own storage, you know, dry cask storage above ground. And I heard enough rumors from my dad and his friends who worked there over the years. Leaks are not uncommon. Ironically, ionizing radiation is what the doctors were using to treat my leukemia. You know, the circle of life, or death.
So, tell us about your plan at Prairie Island.
That is a long story. How much time have you got?